Hi, dear friends, some words of Torah for Parshat Yisro. During wartime, there are so many questions. How could this have happened? How was it that our military wasn't prepared for an attack like this and we were caught unawares? The bigger question, even greater of a dilemma than the military's lack of preparedness, is how Hashem allowed this to happen. Where was he on October 7th? We've heard of some miracles that occurred, like in Kfar Maimon, which is just outside Gaza. When the attacks began, 2 helicopters were on their way to another location. One of the helicopters was hit by an RPG rocket 300 meters from the little village, and the soldiers were uninjured but had to make an emergency landing. At that very moment that the helicopter was landing outside Kfar Maimon, a few dozen terrorists had just surrounded the village to begin a massacre. Fortunately, the soldiers neutralized every one of the terrorists before they could harm anyone in the Yishuv. Yes, there were miracles, but so many lives were tragically cut short. At the Nova Festival, at Kfar Aza, at Be'eri, and in Sderot. Where was God on October 7th? Of course, we've been asking this question many times over the centuries and millennia, and that is why we still have a Tisha B'Av, so we can keep asking that question. But we still reaffirm our faith that Hatzor Tamim Pa'alo, God is the rock, all of his acts are pure. Even when we don't understand, we accept God's will. When Hashem was introducing the giving of the Torah to the Jewish people in our Torah reading, he reviewed for Bnei Yisrael what they had witnessed with their own eyes. You have seen, Atem Ri'item, Asher Asiti B'Mitzrayim, what I did to Egypt, is how the verse begins. In explaining his protection of the Jewish people, God then said, Va'esa etchem al kanfei nesharim, I have carried you on eagle's wings and have brought you to me. Rashi explains the metaphor carefully. Other birds carry their young underneath their wings so as to protect them from predator birds who might swoop down from above and snatch them. But the eagle is the most powerful and highest flying predatory bird. The only thing it has to fear is a hunter shooting an arrow from below. That is why an eagle carries its young on its back, above its wings. The parent eagle would rather be shot by the arrow than risk its chick being shot. God was telling Bnei Yisrael, as the highest bird among the deities, I was able to elevate you above any harm. I protected you from the plagues, and you have emerged this day completely intact. I'm sure every parent can relate to this analogy. We all think of how we would step in front of any threat to our children to save their lives, even if it meant taking a bullet in order to save them. I also imagine that the residents of Kfar Maimon, many of whom are still living in a Jerusalem hotel temporarily, are reading this passage this Shabbat and thinking about the helicopter that came from above, swooping down like an eagle and protecting the lives of the chicks in their village. But we should still ask about the metaphor. Is it completely accurate? Is God ever in danger of getting shot by arrows? A parent eagle will protect its young even if there's a risk to its own life. But what risk did God take by taking the Jews out of Egypt? Isn't all of existence under his control? What harm could any Egyptian possibly inflict upon him? At what point was God in danger of getting shot? I share with you an insight from Rabbi Chaim Mordechai Yaakov Gottlieb, also known as the Miskulture Rav, who died in 1936. He notes that, of course, God is never in any physical danger from the forces of this world. But things happen in this world which cause man to question God. When human beings see apparent injustices, when evil is allowed to prevail, when only some people are saved while others are not, when there's no rhyme or reason behind the inconsistency, this causes people to take pot shots at God. People say, where were you, God? Why are you hiding and allowing chaos to prevail? These are the arrows to which Rashi's Midrash is referring. Hashem tells Bnei Yisrael before giving them the Torah, we will have a special relationship. Because you are my chosen people and because I have a special destiny plotted out for you, there will be times when I will protect you from your enemies, and there will be other times when I won't. Both you and the world may end up becoming confused over the seeming injustice and inconsistency of my actions. People may end up shooting theological arrows at God, and even professing that God doesn't exist in such a chaotic world. But you need to understand that I'm willing to take the attacking arrows in order to protect you and the ultimate plan that I have for you. Rabbi Yaakov continued that this is the deeper meaning of Yitzchak Avinu's question at the time of the Akedah. As they were traveling to Mount Moriah, Yitzchak turned to his father and asked, Hinei ha'esh ve'ha'etzim, Father, I note that there is fire and firewood, but ve'ayeh haseh le'olah, where is the sheep for the offering? Yitzchak was asking a theological question. I see evil being allowed to exist. I see the fire and the fuel, the fire and the firewood for the burning of Gehenna, ready to consume the wicked for their sins. Yet God is not punishing the wicked. The wicked are not offering any atoning sacrificial sheep for their sins, and they live with complete impunity. Where is the justice in that system? Avraham responded to his son, Elokim yir elo haseh le'olah b'ni. God will provide the sheep for the offering, my son. That is, while God's justice does not seem apparent, leave it in Hashem's hands to provide atonement as he sees fit. There will be times when his forbearance will allow for evil to abide and predominate, but in the end, God's system of justice will prevail. And so, as the verse relates, Vayelechu shenehem yachtav, the two walked together. Upon hearing this, Yitzchak's mind was reconciled and put at ease. Despite the great pain, despite the tragic loss of young people in this war, the faith of Am Yisrael is stronger than ever. We have been witness to this incredible emunah time and time again. Today, I'll share our missions experience with Orit and Avraham Baruch, a family that lives in the Shomron. On October 8th, their daughter Adi got permission from the army to join in defending her people outside of Gaza. She told her parents, I can't just stay home while my people are in trouble. This 22-year-old young lady, who had just gotten engaged, donned her army uniform and with a big smile hugged her parents and left with her commanding officer toward Gaza. As they were approaching, the sirens went off, alerting them to rockets fired. The officer stopped the vehicle and told Adi to get out and lie flat on the ground, just as everyone is instructed to do when rockets are fired. The officer even protected her with his own body, but by some freak accident, a piece of shrapnel hit Adi, and she was gone. Her parents asked us to share her story of love of life, of faith, and of optimism in humanity. She was full of light and of love, which is why it is so painful to live in a world without Adi. Over Shabbat, I will include the poem that Adi wrote months before the war broke out, asking her friends and family that if she were to die early, to please live happy lives and celebrate the joy that she brought to the world. Her words are so touching that her poem has been made into a song that you can hear online. She wanted to reassure her family that no matter what, she would always be happy, even if she was in a different plane of existence. I love the one line that reads from the Hebrew, every so often look up to the clouds and smile. That's where I'll be. May her memory be a blessing. May we see a return of all the hostages and an end to this terrible war. May God once again carry us upon his wings and protect us. And may we see great redemption, dear friends. B'mheira b'yameinu amen. Here's wishing you a Shabbat Shalom. Have a beautiful Shabbos.